Hey gang, and welcome back. Just a reminder, you can now use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, at flipsidegaming.com. You'll get 10% off orders over $10 and help with the channel at the same time. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I know I certainly did, celebrating my friend's new marriage at his wedding. With that being said, let's keep the good times rolling and get into a game. This week, Harry is playing his Ixidor Reality Sculptor deck and keeps a hand with 3 islands, Cloud Key, Worn Power Stone, Fathom Seer, and Paradoxical Outcome. Sean is playing his Thrasios and Vial Smasher No White Enchantress deck and keeps a hand with Island, Forest, Dimir Signet, Sandworm Convergence, Gruul Turf, Burning Earth, and Rhystic Study. Ken is playing his Tymaret the Murder King, which is a brutal name, and keeps a hand with Swamp, Wasteland, Dragonskull Summit, Agent of Erebos, Black Sun Zenith, Fleshbag Marauder, and Mogus, God of Slaughter. Lastly, Matt is playing the Dino Daddy himself, Gishath, and keeps a hand with Temple of the False God, Command Tower, Forest, Plains, Sylvan Library, Enlightened Tutor, and everyone's favorite, Berserk. Harry wins the die roll and starts us off. Harry plays an island for the first land for turn and passes. Matt plays a Command Tower and passes. Sean plays a Forest, and guess what? He passes. Ken plays a Swamp and passes. Harry then plays an island for his turn. Matt plays a Forest for his turn and casts Sylvan Library. Sean plays an island for his turn and casts Rakdos Signet. For Ken's turn, he plays a mountain and brings out Tymaret the Murder King to play. For Harry's turn, he plays an island and casts a tapped Worn Power Stone. Matt plays a Jungle Shrine and casts a Felwar Stone, which he puts into play tapped like we're on MTGO, so he doesn't have to keep pressing OK. Sean casts a Rhystic Study and plays a Gruul Turf to return a basic to his hand. Ken plays a Wasteland and lets Sean know that Gruul Turf is definitely a target before passing. Harry plays his third Onslaught Foil Island and pays the extra 1 to cast Cloud Key, naming creatures. He then doesn't pay the extra 1 to cast a Morph creature, which in my experience is most likely a Willbender, and he lets Sean draw a card. Matt doesn't keep any extra cards from his library and plays a Plains for his land for turn. He then casts Ranging Raptors, not paying the extra 1, and passes. I draw for Sean from the study trigger and sub in for him as he's on the phone. I replay Sean's Island and cast Dimir Signet before passing to Ken. Ken plays a mountain and casts Mogus, God of Slaughter. He doesn't pay the 1 extra, and I draw for Sean, which makes me realize I'm actually pretty good with Rhystic Study when it's not my game. Harry takes 2 on his upkeep from the Mogus trigger, and Harry plays Reliquary Tower before casting his general, Ixidor Reality Sculptor, and doesn't pay the extra 1. He passes turn, and Matt casts Enlightened Tutor, allowing me to draw again. Matt finds Mirari's Wake and puts it on top of his library. Matt also takes the 2 damage and draws the Wake. He then plays Temple of the False God and pays 6 for the Mirari's Wake enchantment, paying the extra 1. He swings his Raptor at Ken for 3, who doesn't want to give Matt more lands, and he doesn't block. With nothing else, Matt passes turn. Sean takes 2 on his upkeep and plays a Forest in his main phase. He then casts Enchantress's Presence, followed by Font of Fertility, drawing from the Presence trigger. Sean then casts Gruul Signet and taps the Signet to use the red to cycle his Forgotten Cave, drawing a card. Ken plays a Smoldering Marsh and passes to Harry. Harry uses Ixidor to turn his Fathom Seer face up at the end of turn to draw 2 cards. Harry takes 2 on his upkeep and plays a Myriad Landscape and pays 3 to cast Thought Vessel and denies Sean a card. Moving to combat, Ixidor pokes Sean before Harry passes turn. Matt takes 2 on his upkeep from Mogus, and then further 4 damage from his library as he keeps an extra card. Matt then decides it's time for Dino Daddy to have some fun, and he lets Sean draw a card as he casts his general. Matt then taps his remaining lands to cast Insult, and swings Gishath at Ken. Ken is confused as to why he's the target, but puts Tymaret in the way of the rampaging dinosaur. Matt still gets 12 damage through, which means he gets to reveal 12 cards, and Matt reveals 5 dinosaurs from the trigger, notably Verdant Sun's Avatar, and gains a nice chunk of life, jumping to 46. For Sean's turn, he takes 2 from Mogus and plays a mountain and casts Curse of Disturbance on himself once more. He also gets to draw from the presence. Sean then casts Chromatic Lantern and passes turn. At the end of Sean's turn, Ken casts Vampiric Tutor to find a card. For his turn, Ken casts Damnation, paying the 1 for study. Harry also gets in on the action, casting Paradoxical Outcome to return his creatures and Thought Vessel to his hand, drawing 3 cards. He also pays the 1 extra to deny Sean a card. Harry takes 2 on his upkeep and plays an island during his main phase. Harry then casts a Morph creature, followed closely by another Morph creature, and passes his turn. Matt takes 2 on his upkeep and doesn't take an extra card. He then plays a Forest and recasts Gishath. He doesn't pay the 1 extra and Sean draws a card. Matt has to decide if he wants to take Ken out of the game, but with his high life total, Mogus being on the field is going to punish his opponents more, so Matt decides to swing at Sean. This triggers the curse, and Matt and Sean gain a zombie token. Sean declares that he's going to block with the zombie, and Matt decides it's berserk time. Sean takes 14 damage, and Matt starts to reveal from the top of his library. Sadly, Matt only hits 3 dinos this time around, although with Regisaur Alpha, it comes in with a token, so I guess that does bump it up to 4. At the end of Matt's turn, Gishath dies, and Sean cracks the Font of Fertility to go and find a basic. Sean takes 2 on his upkeep, and plays a Swamp in his main phase. He then casts Sandward Convergence, drawing from the presence, and casts Curse of Verbosity on Ken, drawing again from the presence. Sean then discards down to 7, and gets a Worm at the end of his turn. Ken's turn is quite short, as he's got no land to play and doesn't want to cast anything from hand. The only action for the turn is Harry cracking the Myriad Landscape at the end of turn for 2 islands. Harry also takes 2 on his upkeep and plays an island. Moving to combat, Harry swings one of his morph tokens at Ken, and he and Sean get to draw a card. Harry then casts Leyline of Anticipation, paying the 1 extra, and passes turn. Matt takes 2 from Mogus and plays a mountain. Matt then casts a Soul Ring, letting Sean draw a card. Matt then casts Kindred Charge, naming dinosaurs, but Harry doesn't really feel like dying and megamorphs his Stratus Dancer to counter it. Moving to combat, Matt swings at Harry for 12 damage and 4 at Ken, drawing he and Sean a card. Matt then casts Steadfast Armisar in his second main phase and pays the extra 1. Sean takes 2 in his upkeep and plays a Frontier Bivouac tapped. Sean then casts Herald of the Pantheon and is at Signet. Sean then casts Honden of Infinite Rage, drawing a card, and immediately drops Honden of Life's Web, drawing from them as well. He also gains 2 life from the enchantments, and at the end of his turn, gets a Worm token. Ken plays a Command Tower for his turn, and passes. At the end of turn, Harry flashes in Ixidor, and chooses not to pay the extra 1, allowing Sean to draw a card. Harry takes 2 in his upkeep, and plays Tomb of the Spirit Dragon as his land for turn. Harry then plays Cloudstone Curio, paying the extra 1. Moving to combat, Harry then swings a morph token at Ken, and he and Sean draw a card, and Ken takes some damage. With nothing else, Harry passes turn. Matt takes 2 in his upkeep, and doesn't keep an extra card from the library. Matt then casts Kindred Boon in his first main phase, naming dinosaurs. Matt then puts 2 divinity counters on 2 of his dinos, and swings the 2 same dinosaurs at Harry and the Armasaur at Ken. Harry decides to flash in Venser, and uses his Cloudstone Curio trigger to return the Stratus Dancer to his hand. Harry chooses to bounce the bigger of the 2 dinosaurs. As Matt is returning the dinosaur to his hand, Harry flashes in a morph creature who totally isn't Stratus Dancer. This lets Harry bounce Benser back to his hand, which he then recasts to bounce the morph creature back to his hand, and returns the second attacking dinosaur. As a result, the only creature attacking is the one headed at Ken, and Matt draws from the curse, and so does Sean, who has also drawn a chunk of cards from Harry's shenanigans. Matt then casts Thrash of Raptors in his second main phase, letting Sean draw a card, and passes turn. Sean takes 2 on his upkeep from Mogus and has the Honden deal 2 to Matt. Moving to his main phase, Sean casts the Golgari and Simic Signets. He then plays a Thoughtrender Lamia, forcing everyone to discard a card, and drops Polluted Bonds. Sean then plays Fate Unraveler, and everyone discards a card. Sean then plays a Forest. Moving to the end of his turn, Sean discards down to 7, gets a Worm, and passes turn. Ken plays a Swamp and gets drained for 2 by Sean's Polluted Bonds. Ken then plays Black Sun Zenith, where X is 5, not paying for the study trigger. Harry takes 2 on his upkeep from the Mogus trigger, and passes. Matt sacrifices his last dinosaur, who's infected with -1/-1 counters, to the Mogus trigger, and takes 4 to keep an extra card from his library's ability. Matt then plays Cinder Glade, and Sean's Polluted Bonds drains Matt for 2. Matt then casts Gishath for the 3rd time this game, and casts Onward to double his commander's power, and lets Sean draw 1. He then swings at Sean, which gives them both a zombie, and Sean blocks with the zombie. Unfortunately, Sean takes 14 commander damage, which, when added to his previous commander damage, takes him out of the game. Matt then reveals 5 dinosaurs from his 14, and has the Burning Sun's avatar deal 3 to Ken. Ken draws and has nothing to do, so he passes. At the end of turn, Harry flashes in a morph creature, Thought Vessel, Nurok Stealth Suit, and finishes off with Ixidor. For Harry's turn, he equips Ixidor with a Stealth Suit and passes. Matt puts a divinity counter on his commander at the end of turn, and begins his own turn. Matt takes 2 on his upkeep rather than to tank a dino. Matt then flashes back the victory portion of his split card, just in case Harry or Ken try to kill his Gorean Ceratops, targeting his commander. Harry morphs the Stratus Dancer, countering the spell though. Moving to combat, Matt swings Gishath at Ken and the rest at Harry. Knowing he's about to die, Ken casts Rakdos Charm to deal 1 damage per creature to that creature's controller, and Harry takes 2 while Matt takes 6. Harry does some quick math to see that if he can live through blocking, but comes to the conclusion that he's dead no matter what, and Matt finishes up the game through combat. Game review time. Unfortunately, this game was a little bit one-sided in the sense that Matt pretty much went crazy and was not able to be stopped. I think his two largest contributing factors to the win were Mirari's Wake and the fact that he was able to double his commander's power regularly. Matt was able to tutor for and resolve Mirari's Wake early on. He even had enough mana to be able to pay for the Rhystic Study trigger when it cast it. This really pushed him ahead in terms of mana production, and he was able to easily recast his general over and over and over, despite the fact that his general costs 8 to begin with. Between that and the fact that on average whenever his commander would connect he was doing a minimum of 12 damage, he was going very deep into his library, so even with only 25 dinosaurs in the deck, he was still able to find a good 5 or 6 per hit. Considering Harry was playing a mono blue deck, we didn't see a lot of bouncing beyond Cloudstone Curio bouncing his own creatures. Harry's Ixidor deck is typically more control-y, and he's able to win through Brine Elemental Lock, or the Pickles Lock as some people call it. Unfortunately though, Harry was flooded out with lands, and even though he was drawing a bunch of cards off Paradoxical Outcome and swinging at Ken, he still wasn't able to find any pieces to help deal with Matt. He did have that sweet interaction with Venser, Cloudstone Curio, and a Morph creature, but that was about the highlight of his game. Ken's Murder King deck unfortunately didn't do a heck of a lot, and the most contributing factor he did to this game was casting 2 board wipes. Typically a Mogus on the field can put a lot of pressure on your opponents, but in this case, all it did was annoy his would-be allies, as Matt was happy to pay the life or the creature cost. I'm not too sure what happened to Sean's deck, as he was able to draw a million cards, partly because of my sweet moves with Rhystic Study, and partly because of his Enchantress package. It seemed like he suffered like Harry did, drawing a bunch of lands and not a lot of action. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also find me on Twitter at MTGMudsta, at Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in part by support from my Patreons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below or in the About section. As always, thank you guys for watching, and please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more.